I'm Zim, and you're listening to the Helpful Photographer Podcast in collaboration with New York City Photo Safari. To register for a safari, please visit NewYorkCityPhotoSafari.com. It feels like everyone's making the jump to mirrorless cameras. So today I'm going to talk about the things you need to know as you consider moving to mirrorless. First of all, the difference between a mirrorless and a DSLR is the mirror. SLR stands for a single lens reflex. The reflex being the mirror which reflects the incoming light from the lens up into a prism which houses an array of mirrors and delivers it to our eyeball, and therefore allowing you to see the image before taking the picture. When the shutter button is clicked, this mirror flips up and out of the way to allow light to hit the sensor or the film. On the other hand, a mirrorless camera removes the array of mirrors by electronically projecting the image which hits the sensor onto an LCD display. This display is presented either on the back side of the camera or inside a viewfinder, or both. Because the mirror and the prism have been eliminated, the entire body is smaller. The benefit to this is, well, obviously, size. But another big benefit is the lack of moving parts. Remember, the fewer moving parts, the fewer things that can break, and everything will break at some point. So this is kind of obvious, but why did it take so long to get here? Once we invented digital technology, wasn't it obvious to make everything mirrorless? Well, the fact is, mirrorless has been around from the get-go. Point-and-shoot cameras are essentially mirrorless, right? So they've been around for a long time, but if you'll remember, in the early days of digital, they all kind of sucked. Does anyone remember something called shutter lag? Remember when you would press the button and then it would fire? That was because the camera was waiting for the image to come into focus. So the technology behind autofocus via the sensor is what made it so slow. Until now, professionals did not shoot mirrorless cameras because they just didn't focus fast enough. But as with all technologies, they eventually get better. So today, it can definitely be argued that the autofocus system of some mirrorless cameras are as fast or even faster than its DSLR counterpart. So far so good, right? So what are the cons? In my opinion, there are still some significant drawbacks to mirrorless. They are still very expensive relative to DSLR, but that will change over time. The other thing is that they lack third-party equipment. Now, I don't generally recommend third-party equipment, whether we're talking about lenses or flashes, etc. But the lack of third-party equipment means that the manufacturer doesn't have any competition, so they can keep their prices even higher than normal. But that will change over time as mirrorless gets more popular. But my biggest gripe regarding mirrorless cameras is the drop test. Due to the way they're constructed, they don't take drops very well. I once watched a participant drop a mirrorless camera 4 feet off a tripod onto the concrete sidewalk, and it was toast. As I understand, the repair bill was nearly the cost of a new body. On the other hand, I've dropped my DSLR about 3 times onto concrete and have walked away without a problem. Just to be clear, I wouldn't recommend dropping your camera equipment as a matter of practice, and prior to those 3 drops on the same camera, it had been over 20 years since my previous drop. Just so everyone knows, I'm not that big of a klutz, and I don't normally drop my equipment. My last gripe with mirrorless is battery power. Because these cameras rely on an LCD for you to see your image, it uses a lot more battery power. As a result, you will need to carry more batteries than a DSLR. This is going to bring the weight of your camera bag back up, and it means that you'll need to plan your shooting a bit more too. But over time, the manufacturers will definitely resolve this problem. It's a pretty small hurdle for them to clear. The bottom line is the DSLR will eventually go the way of the dodo, and everything is going to go mirrorless. The question is when to make the jump. And when you do make the jump from DSLR to mirrorless, I would highly recommend that you ditch all of your DSLR lenses for the dedicated mirrorless lenses. Yes, I said all of them. I know you can probably get an adapter that will allow you to use the old lenses on the mirrorless, but I do not recommend this at all. I certainly would not recommend that you bring a Canon lens to a Sony system either. The reason is because manufacturers make lenses optimized specifically for their sensors and their focusing system. The focusing system for DSLR and mirrorless are different, and their lenses are designed for those specific systems. So you won't get the full benefits of the new technology if you hang on to the old lenses. That's it for today. Until next time, whatever camera you have in your hand, Keep on shooting.